Hello, everyone. Welcome to this amazing live stream show. I let me know where you're joining from. I'm Mariquita Solis, and I'm in the Atlanta area. So this is going to be a very powerful hour. We're going to find out how you can transform your health, and we don't have to be victims. How we can take charge. So let us know where you're watching from, and if you have any questions, please put them in the comment in the chats, and please let StreamYard have permission in the description to use your name so we know who you are and how we can get back to you. So I want to welcome this amazing author and this wise guru of health, Kelley Gilberry. I met Kelley on LinkedIn. He reached out to me and we were talking about his book, and I read his book. It was amazing, things that I never thought about before. And so I said, you got to come on this show. So welcome, Kelley, One Determined Vegan.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. It's awesome to be here. So thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
Wonderful. Well, let's hear your story, Kelley, a little bit about so what shifted for you? Did you know what vegan was when you were a child, or did you know what vegetarian was? Did you have
I, I
any
probably I probably didn't even know how to spell vegan or vegetarian when I was a kid. Yeah, like I said, like in my book, I went plant-based beginning of 2021, so about 3.5 years ago. I went from the worst shape of my life to the best shape of my life by using the power of plant-based nutrition. I was a pre-diabetic, I had heart disease, and I was obese. And I get diagnosed this all at the very same doctor's visit. But before
Oh,
that, my mother had just passed away a couple of months prior to that from heart disease, which is the leading cause of death. So when she passed away, and then I saw my uncle pass away from cancer. So I saw both sides of death, how death will take you out quickly, like that. Then I saw how death will take you out very, very slowly in the case of cancer, right? So heart disease, pretty quickly, heart attack, pretty quickly, cancer, pretty slowly. So like I said, I go to the doctor and they're like, you got all these health conditions and here's a bunch of medications. I had angina. Angina is basically a precursor to a heart attack, restricted blood flow to the heart. And once the doctor decided to prescribe me, a bunch of medication, I decided, you know what, I wasn't going to do that. I just remembered when I went on a cruise, maybe about 7 or 8 years ago, there was a cruise excursion tour guide, and he told us, hey, we only get our medication from the land. We don't get our medication from the grocery store. We don't get our medication from there. If we get sick, we go to the land, mix up the plants, and then voila, that's our concoction. So that is the philosophy that I used when I came to totally transform my health. I used no medication, none at all. And in less than a year, I reversed all of my conditions and lost about 70 pounds, all through the power of plants.
that's amazing. Wow. What did your family think about you?
Oh, every time they saw me, they were just like, "Whoa!" Every time they saw me, I was getting slimmer and slimmer and slimmer. But you know how it is. You know how family is. Family is they're gonna do what they do. Yeah, I mean, they were happy for me, but at the end of the day, they're still gonna eat what they want to eat.
Right. Yeah,
You
no,
know?
I know exactly how that is.
Yeah.
What to do. No, it's hard. I mean, what makes it so hard to change?
What makes it so hard to change? Oh, it's because people are stuck in their ways, right? Is they're stuck in their ways is because it makes it hard to change because change is hard. Takes you outside of your comfort zone. So if you get out of your comfort zone, most people are like, "Oh, whoa, 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 no, that's too much." So the philosophy is disruption always follows intention. So that what that means is whenever you go to do something, let's just say if you go to lose a bunch of weight, or if you start going back to the gym, you want to lose 50 pounds. Yeah, when you go back to the gym, you're going to get worse before you get better, right? Because you're going to go to the gym, you're going to be all sore, like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. I hate feeling this way. You're super, super sore. And the same thing when you're starting a business. Guess what? When you're starting a business, there's going to be so much, people lose money when they start a business instead of gaining money. So the money comes later. So disruption always follows intention. So if you have anything that you want to do, best believe that if it's worth doing, disruption is gonna be first, followed by intention.
Well, that makes a lot of sense because I'm changing over somewhat in my business. And yeah, it's like I'm trying to juggle all these things and wondering, oh my gosh, sometimes it's too much. I don't know what to do. But so yeah, but you're right. You have to follow the path. And I think that's very good advice because who very varied audience of people. So some might know what whole food plant-based is, some might not, some might know what vegan is, some might not, and some might be vegan and vegetarian. You just so we're speaking to a lot of different people who could be watching here. So sometimes it can seem overwhelming. Can you explain the difference between vegan and whole food plant-based?
Yeah, so vegan is when you say vegan. So here's what I think. I say my name is one determined vegan, but I tell people I'm a whole foods plant-based vegan, right? So vegan is just the well. Let me go back to plant-based first. Plant-based is more you're specifically eating plants, like you're eating plants. You did it for the health. So you went in for there's three parts of being vegan. So there's the health side, there is the environment side, and then there's the animal side, right? Most of the people who are plant based, as we say, they went in for the health side. So everything, nothing that comes from an animal, right? So nothing that comes from an animal, only whole foods. Whole fruits like fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, whole grains, and legumes. And we do minimally processed food. Like you can do some processed foods because it's hard to get away from processed foods. Literally, like I wrote about this in the book. Literally everything in our society is processed in some way, shape, or form, right? When it's in the grocery stores, even if it's an apple or an orange, it still was processed in some way to get onto that shelf. Right. So yeah, that's kind of what it is. It's kind of how I do it.
All right, yeah, and that can be overwhelming, I think, and because I think about some people that I know, I have a lot of friends, and I think that they hardly ever eat fruits and vegetables. So
Are they vegan
it's
as well? Are they vegan?
no, not necessarily vegan, but just friends in general that are not eating plants. I mean, really, I mean the whole fruit,
Yeah.
or,
So, and then vegan, you were asking about vegan. Like, what's the difference between plant based and vegan? Plant based is literally you're in it for the health. Like, you're eating the whole food, you're eating the plants, right? Vegan, on the other term, is it's a broad term, but basically it means that you can eat, as long as it doesn't come from an animal, you can eat it. So, if it's vegan junk food like Oreos or, vegan donuts or cookies and ice cream and Beyond Burger and Impossible Burger and all of that ultra processed stuff, that is called vegan junk food. So a lot of people are like, man, if you're vegan, how come you're overweight? Right? Well, you're overweight. A lot of vegans are overweight is because they eat a lot of vegan junk food. So that's the difference between whole foods, plant based. You're eating the whole foods, the food in its whole natural form, versus others who will eat the vegan junk food. So that's the difference. Vegan junk food versus, so if you say you're vegan, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're plant-based. It just means that you're more in tune with the animals and the environmental side of it, not necessarily the health part. You couldn't give two, what's about your health, right? So
possibly, yeah, possibly, yeah. So yeah, no, I mean it really varies on the spectrum of that, and so, but can be confusing to some people. So
yeah, I just tell people I'm a whole foods plant-based vegan, so it's not confusing at all.
right, and that's good. So so what about people that don't eat a lot of what if you don't eat a lot of vegetables or fruits and then you start eating, I mean, a good amount? What's going to happen in your system? Would you
What's going to happen in your system is your body is going to go from not having any fiber to having a bunch of fiber, and your system is going to notice, right? When you go from not having, if you start eating real whole foods, so that's where fiber comes from. Fiber, that's the only place that it comes from. It's from a real whole natural plant. It doesn't come from a ho-ho Twinkie. It doesn't come from Kellogg's Frosted Flakes. It doesn't come from a steak. It doesn't come from anywhere. So your body needs the fiber, right? So
right? Yeah, so 98% of Americans are fiber deficient.
mm-hmm,
But how
absolutely.
can that be? I mean, how could how could that even be, and people not even know about it? I guess.
Well, that's because more than 60%, it's probably 70 now, but more than 60% of the standard American diet, sad, is ultra processed food, right? These are convenience foods. These are foods that, you throw in the microwave real quick, or you just, go through the drive through or go here, or go there. Food that's already made, already processed for you. So that's ultra processed food. Ultra processed food is any food that was made by a man, right? And if it's something that your grandmother wouldn't recognize, that means that it's ultra processed. Right. So a lot of people eat a lot of ultra processed foods. So it's 60% processed, and then 30% from animal products, and only 10% from fruits and vegetables. I think it's even less than that. I think it's like 6% of the standard American diet. It's fruits and vegetables, nuts, seeds, whole grains, and legumes. Everything else is ultra processed and animal products. So I call that diesel fuel. 90% of the standard American diet is diesel fuel. Right. So if you flip the philosophy of instead of 90% diesel fuel, you want to flip the philosophy to 90% of the unleaded, I call it, which are fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, whole grains, and legumes. Right. If you do that 90% of the time, and if you want to have some vegan junk food or whatever, 10% of the time, be my guest. Right. But it's what you do most of the time.
Right. That's very true. You're right. And so when you, well, so when did you go? When did this happen? How old were you?
42 when I went plant-based vegan.
42, and you're now
Yeah,
what?
45 now.
Okay, 45. Okay, so very recently, very recent occurrence. So, all right. So, and when did you write your book? Tell us about your book.
So I wrote the book in 2022. Wrote the book I wrote the book in 2022. The book is literally it is a instructional guide that it is my message, it is my story, but it's for you, right? It's my story, but it's everything for you, for the reader, right?
And tell us the name
Everything.
of the book.
Plant Save My Life. Plant Save My Life is literally about it's my story about again how I lost all of the weight. But in this, I was an instructor at the U.S. Naval Academy, and in this, I learned how to deliver messages that get straight to the point. So that's what the book's about. The book is about totally transforming your health from anything from A to Z. So if you let's just say if you walk in, you're like, man, I have no idea what being healthy actually is. Or even if you're in great health, if you read this book, you're going to get some nuggets out of it. But it's basically an instruction guide to take you from A to I'm in the worst shape of my life to, okay, how do I get to a very, very best shape of my life? Get rid of all of these chronic diseases, get rid of all of this weight, and just live my life like a normal everyday person. So that's what the book's about. The book is my story, but it's catered to you.
Right. And I mean, it's very fascinating. What about the studies that you did looked at for the book? And what was
Uh,
one of the most fascinating ones?
Man, some of the studies are mainly in marketing is one heck of a thing. Marketing is one hell of a thing. How we talk about how the why fruits and vegetables are so expensive. They're so expensive is because the research says that the government gives subsidies to both the meat, dairy, and egg industry, and it also gives subsidies to the fruit and vegetable industries as well. But the major difference is how much each industry gets. So the 38 billion, that's billion with a B, is for the meat, dairy, and eggs industry, and then that's 38 billion, and then the fruits and vegetable industry, 20 million. Right. So this is why I can go to the dollar menu. I can go to McDonald's right now. I can go to Burger King right now, Wendy's or whatever, and I can go get a dollar menu. I can go get a burger for $1. I can go get a fries, and then probably wash it down with a super sweet beverage, right, for probably $4. But yeah, if I go over to Whole Foods or if I go over to Sprouts and I try to go get a bushel of vegetables or a nice thing of kale, and I talk about being $1, they're gonna laugh me out of the store. Like, what? $1 for kale? Get out of here, bro. But yet I can go over to McDonald's and get a nutritionally devoid meal and filled with animal products for literally absolutely almost nothing. But if I go to get the healthy stuff, the healthier stuff, it's going to bang me in the head a little bit. That's simply because of that's the way it's designed through the government versus 20 million.
Well, let's go back to that about you when you received this diagnosis. What did I mean? That is how it's designed, and then what happens? You get sick. Like when you receive
Yeah.
these diagnoses of diabetes and all these conditions. What did the doctor say? For your
Whenever I went, the doctor was like, "Here's a statin. Have a nice life." All right, because my doctor was overweight too. He was obese. I mean, he had a big belly like mine. We were kind of just like do belly bumps together. That's how big we were, right? And he's a doctor.
it's very sad, but it's very common. You're right. It's very common. Good
Yeah.
grief.
So I mean, the doctors. That's the leading cause of death for doctors too. Is heart disease.
Gosh.
Yeah, for cardiologists in particular, the leading cause of death is heart disease. For cardiologists, can you imagine that? Yeah. So, yeah. So yeah. That's just some of the studies. Some of the There's a lot of studies out. A lot of things that are pretty crazy out there.
Yeah, but I mean, I just think about the poor communities, how they don't have access to healthy food. It's really
Yeah.
sad. Here's the cans of tuna, which is destroying the environment, the oceans, causing dead zones,
Hmm.
and here's all the, I mean, sloppy joes and all this and all the meat and everything, and it's so sad. And they're sick. The people get sick, and they're trapped in this system of
100%.
poverty.
100%. Yeah, you get trapped in the system. I mean, again, that's the way it's designed. I mean, like I said, 38 billion versus 20 million. I mean, you do the math. I mean, that's definitely how it's designed, because the medical industry is all about sick care. I wrote a chapter in the book called "Medicine Isn't Healthcare, Food is Healthcare," because that's how they want you, right? They want you to be sick, because if you're not sick, then guess what? They don't make any money. If they're not prescribing you statins, if they're not doing the latest, cracking your chest open to do a surgery, then they're not making any money. All right, I can tell you a quick story real quick. It's kind of off the topic, but a couple of years ago, about a year and a half ago, I banged my foot on my dog's toe, and I thought I broke it. I literally thought I broke it. It was in bad shape. I was walking, and it was just like hurting so bad, and it just got to the point where it's hurting so bad that I was in Oklahoma at the time, so I went to the doctor in Oklahoma. He was like, "Yeah, it's pretty swell, but I don't think you're gonna have to have surgery. See your doctor when you get home." So when I got back home to Houston, I go to my ankle doctor, and guess what he says? Even before he even says hi to me, he puts his hand on my foot and says, "Surgery." Even before he looked at any x-rays or anything, he just said, "Surgery." And I'm just like, bro, that's not what the doctor in Oklahoma just said. He didn't even ask for it. So then he was like, "Okay, let's go get your x-ray." So then I got the x-ray, and I came back, and he was like, "Yeah, you can take that boot off. It's not broken." I was like, "You son of a gun."
Good grief. That's scary. It's scary because it's always the go-to, the pills, or let's get in the hospital, right? I mean, well, they don't have education to do anything else.
No, you can't blame them. You can't blame the doctors, because this is what they learn. They learn how to diagnose. They learn how to, like, okay, if that's not if that's not it, okay, then give them more medication. Okay, if that's not it, okay, give them higher medication, double up on their medication. Okay, if that's not it, okay, crack their chest open. Okay, gastric bypass. Okay, stents. Right, that's the next thing. If then that doesn't work, then the person's dead.
That is so sad. You know what? I don't watch much TV, but I've been watching the morning shows, and I mean, maybe watch an hour of TV a day. But what's incredible to me is the amount of commercials. I mean, with me watching an hour of TV a day that come on, I mean, regular TV programming that come on about drugs. I mean, pharmacy, the latest drug that you can take. I can't believe it. It's just, and then the last one I saw they went on and on and on about the side effects. And I thought, who in the world would get this drug? She just spent like 30 seconds, I don't know how long, but talking this and this and this, and probably 25 side effects. And I thought, who could bypass that to say, I
Yeah.
want this drug?
Yeah, if you go to the doctor and they prescribe you a medication, 9 times out of 10, they're going to tell you got to take that for the rest of your life. You have to take this medication. So if you're going for diabetes, they're going to say, "Hey, take this diabetes medication for the rest of your life." Or going for heart disease, take this heart disease medication for the rest of your life. Take this whatever medication for the rest of your life. But you know what's crazy is the people who take the medication for that, say like if you take medication for diabetes, these people still die from diabetes, right? If you take medication from heart disease, you still die from heart disease. If you take medication for, a stroke or whatever, you're still going to die from a stroke. If you take medication for Alzheimer's, you're still going to die from Alzheimer's,
Well,
right?
you know what's interesting is that when you're taking the medicine, so if you're not changing the behavior, you might be taking it for the blood pressure. Maybe it's keeping it wherever, but you're still eating the same way, and
Mm-hmm.
it's still affecting other parts of your body, which people are not. I mean, the body is all connected.
Mm-hmm.
So that yeah, maybe you're hanging on for a while because of the medicine, but you're still hurting other parts of your body by living the way that you are living.
Yeah, you're not getting to the root cause of it, right? So it's all about lifestyle. So it's lifestyle first. I'm glad you brought that up. It's lifestyle first, medication second. That's my philosophy. If you can't fix it with the lifestyle, okay, take medication, but you take the medication for a very, very short period of time. I'm not talking about, say, you see people like, "Oh yeah, I'm taking this medication and started this today. 5 years later, I'm still taking this medication. 10 years later, I'm still taking this medication," or they've upped my dosage 15 years later. Like, no, man, you're supposed to take that medication for a very short period of time, just till you get out of that rut. Once you're out of that rut, then you can let the real medicine take over, which are the plants. You let the
Well,
real medicine take over.
that's what I see is people that they don't have the conversation of we're going to give you this medicine and we're going to do it for 3 months, but during that time you're going to be introducing a diet change, right? That doesn't happen. Those conversations don't happen. It's
No.
like, well, here's the medicine, okay, good luck and come back for another prescription. It's not. It's very disturbing.
Well, that goes back to what you said earlier, right? If it's hard, people won't do it. If it's hard, what's easy? Easy is going to the doctor and he says, "Oh, you got all these chronic health conditions. Take a pill." That's easy. You can do that, and you can just still eat whatever I want. I can still eat the steaks and the hot dogs and the hamburgers and the ice creams and all of the diesel fuel. I can still eat all that stuff. All I have to do is take my medication. But like I just said earlier, you can do that, but you're still going to die from that disease because 9 times out of 10, people still die from that exact same disease that they're taking medication for, unless they tear up that script and change it all. Once they change it all, then if nothing changes, nothing changes. So you have to change. For things to change, you have to change. If nothing changes, you're going to stay the same, and that condition is going to stay the same, and you're still going to end up pushing up daisies before your time. Guarantee it, because 7 in 10 people die. 70% of the people in this world die from a chronic condition.
And these are preventable conditions. I know even my dad, before he's passed away, but we're like, you got to stop drinking Coke or soda. Let's say soda, right? You got to stop drinking soda. And he didn't want to, well, not just soda, but whatever. I mean, other things. He was like, I'll just take a pill. I was like, no, here we are. Like, please, no. But it's very hard. I mean, it's hard, and you can't force some people to change, but you can be the example. So.
Because it takes people outside of their comfort zone whenever they have to change. That it's uncomfortable. Like, oh no, I don't like that. Please, it's taking me outside of my comfort zone. I have to push through this. I don't want to push through. I just want to sit on the couch. That was me for many, many years. That was me when I call it being a grasshopper. That was me for the first 42 years of my life.
Would
just
you say
living life passively.
Oh yeah. Would you say that you were addicted to food, certain foods?
I was addicted to double cheeseburgers and extra pickles and small fries and gummy worms. And then I washed it all down with a Mountain Dew. So yes, I was addicted to those. So double cheeseburgers there, and you couldn't get me away from those. Are my favorite food from McDonald's. Right? I'm stopping over there 3-4 days a week.
It's so funny because when we look back at it, kind of like I met someone today and she saw my shirt, my vegan shirt, and she said, "Well, I really like to have a filet mignon sometimes." And I said, "Yeah, I used to do that too." I mean, I used to. I can understand why people would want that. I mean, I understand because that's the way we were raised, and
100%.
that's what we were taught as normal.
100%. So and I'm glad you brought that up. So like we talk about eating meat. Like eating meat is not natural, right? Someone told you that you're supposed to eat that, right? So it's someone basically brainwashed you that says you're not supposed to eat that. Like the scenario I gave in my book about, did you see in chapter 1 when I talked about the 2-year-old baby versus the 2-year-old lion cub? Yeah. So 2-year-old baby versus a 2-year-old lion cub, meaning a 2-year-old human baby, if you have, if you're super busy and you leave them in the playpen for a couple of hours, where you're like, because I got super busy work today, I'm gonna leave them in the playpen. So you leave an apple and you leave an rabbit. You leave an apple and a live rabbit, bunny rabbit. And when you came back 2 hours later, which one would the baby have eaten and which one would the baby have played with?
Right, exactly.
He's gonna eat the apple. But on the other side, if I reversed it and I took the human out and put a lion in, when you came back 2 hours later, that lion is going to eat the bunny rabbit and play with the apple. But on second thoughts, lions don't even play with apples. So therefore, that apple will still be there. But I say all that to say, this is nature, right? Your nature tells you, AKA eat the plants. So if you're 2-year-olds, you're going to eat that apple and not the bunny rabbit, AKA eat the plants. And then the lion, he's going to AKA eat the bunny rabbit, aka the meat, and leave the apple. He's not going to eat the apple. Lions don't eat apples.
But don't you miss eating meat?
I don't miss it. No, I do. Whenever I go and I see the smell, like I always remember the smell. Like I go somewhere and someone's cooking bacon, like, oh yeah, I remember bacon. Or or if I go somewhere and I'm like, oh, I remember that double cheeseburger. Or if I go somewhere and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that macaroni and cheese. I remember the smells. That's the only thing. I mean, I savor in the smells. I mean, I don't actually touch it. I just because like I said, you've been eating this your whole life, so you remember what all this. You remember what a steak smells like. You remember what bacon and all this stuff smells like.
So, well, yeah, no, I do that too. And sometimes I think, oh, I shouldn't be thinking, that smells good. But I mean, that's what triggers in my brain. That's what's happening in my brain. So, but what about people that say I can, like, how I could never do it? And we hear this all the time. I could never give up meat, right? I never could do it. So, what would you say to those people? I mean, what
Again,
about taste
again,
buds?
again, again, you weren't born to eat meat. You were conditioned to eat meat. All right. So if they say, yeah, if they say, oh yeah, I can't eat meat, or I don't want to eat meat, like here's what I say. My best clients are people who've hit rock bottom. If you've hit rock bottom, then you'll listen to everything that I tell you when it comes to transforming your health. But if you haven't hit rock bottom, if you just come to me like, oh yeah, I want to lose weight to get into my wedding dress in the summertime, or I'm going on vacation, or I want to look good in my bathing suit, right? Or if I'm just doing it for some other, not a real reason, you don't have a real why, then that's when the excuses come in. That's when, okay, yeah, I'm gonna go grab some meat, or I didn't do what I was supposed to, or oh, I can't give up my meat, or but on the other hand, if you have real health conditions and you're ready to totally transform your health, you're like, listen, I'm sick and tired about being sick and tired about this current health condition, then you'll give up the meat. But until then, most people aren't going to give it up. If it's just some casual stuff to say, hey, I want to lose weight, they're not going to give it up. But if it's a real reason, they'll give it up.
So, what do you crave now?
What do I crave? I mean, I still crave double cheeseburgers. Don't get me wrong.
Right. No, I get you. I understand.
I don't eat them though. I still see the gummy worms. I go by the store and I see the gummy worms. I'm like, yeah, that used to be me. But now I crave Buddha bowls. Like I love Buddha bowls now. You give me a good Buddha bowl, like man, I'm in there. I'm good to go. You
I
just do,
love those too.
man.
So,
You
what?
just. But what makes a Buddha bowl delicious is you make a delicious sauce. I'm a master sauce maker. So if you make a delicious sauce, I mean, your Buddha bowls are crazy. So I love Buddha bowls. I mean, I eat those all the time. So craving, yeah, I crave those a lot.
What sauces do you make for them?
My own sauce. My own sauce. I'll make a cilantro sauce, or I'll make a almond butter sauce. There's a bunch of different sauces that I make. There's a couple green sauce. I'm actually coming out with a sauce here at the end of the year. I'm
Good.
coming out with my own sauce because, like I said, I'm a master sauce maker. So be on the lookout for that. Hopefully in the store shelves pretty soon, towards the
Yeah.
end of the year.
Yeah. Let us know about that. And so, what about? I liked it when you talked about was it the kangaroo maybe and the koala bear?
Milk.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. You're talking about milk. All right. So that would probably be a weird scenario. What you're talking about is if you were going out for a nice walk and you gazed into a field and you saw a deer, but as you got closer, she was breastfeeding. But as you get closer, you see that she's breastfeeding a baby koala bear. Like, like, how would you feel about that? Would you feel good about that? Would you feel like, yeah, that's pretty normal, and then you just keep walking?
I feel disturbed.
Yeah, you'd be very much disturbed. You'd be very much disturbed. And the other one is if you saw a cow, if you gaze into a cow pasture and you saw a chimpanzee, a cow breastfeeding a chimpanzee, a newborn chimpanzee, like how would you feel about that?
Rattled. I would feel rattled.
Yeah, right. So that is the reason for that is because we talk about milk. Milk is the purpose of milk. Like human beings still drink milk as an adult. Like you're not supposed to drink milk as an adult. Like once you finish the weaning process, like that's it for milk. Right? Milk, like I'm talking about milk, real milk from an animal. That's it for milk. No matter what kind of mammal you are, if you're a lion, if you're a tiger, if you're a sheep, if you're a human, if you're an elephant, if you're a whale, if you're any type of mammal, it doesn't matter what, there's many, many mammals on this planet. Um, the point of milk is to make a baby mammal grow into a bigger mammal. But a baby mammal can't grow and can't chew food. It has no teeth or can't chew anything. So therefore, he has to drink his mother's milk. So that's where he gets most of his nutrients from. So the ratio of micronutrients between proteins, carbohydrates, and fats are totally different for each species of animal, right? For instance, human beings takes us 18 to 20 years to become a full adult. So we talk about protein. What does protein do? Protein within your milk. We talk about milk, for instance. Like what does protein do? Protein makes things grow. Okay, so protein makes things grow. Why does it take human beings 18 to 20 years to become a full adult? But yet it takes a tiny mouse 6 months to become a full adult. and a tiny mouse has 10 times 10. That's 10 times as much protein in its milk than that of human milk. So the question is why? Why is it that a tiny mouse like this big has a way more protein in its milk than that we as human beings? Why is that? It's simple. Because it takes human beings 18 to 20 years to become a full adult, and it takes a tiny mouse 6 months to become a full adult. So keep in mind what protein does. Protein makes things grow. So if there's a lot of protein in rat's milk simply because of how fast that mouse grows or that rat grows. And then very little protein in ours simply because it takes us 18 years to become a full adult. That's just a little bit of it. I mean, I go into way more in depth in the book, but that's just a little bit of it. So basically that means that human milk is designed for human milk. Giraffe milk is designed for giraffe milk. Cow milk is designed for cow milk. So that scenario I gave you about if you were walking through a pasture and you saw a deer breastfeeding a koala bear, you'd be like, that's the craziest thing I ever seen. Or if you ran across a cow breastfeeding a chimpanzee, you'd be like, that is weird. You throw you off. But it's not weird that we will go and human beings will go drink a nice tall glass of cow's milk or bite into a succulent piece of cheese. But it's the same exact thing. A human being getting breastfed by a deer, right? Or a human being getting breastfed by a cow. Like, what is the difference between that? So if you really want protein or milk, I say forget about the cow's milk. Forget about that. Throw that away. You want to get rat's milk, because that stuff is loaded. And I mean loaded with way more protein than that of any other species on this planet. So that is how Mother Nature designed it. Mother Nature designed the protein within milk for that specific species. So if we as adults drinking cow's milk, it's the craziest thing in the world, right? But if people don't think that's weird, but if you saw a koala bear being breastfed by a deer, or if you saw a chimpanzee being breastfed by a cow, oh, that's weird. But yet, when we as humans do it, oh, it's pretty normal. Yeah. Okay,
Well,
so why a cow? Why a cow? Why not other animals? Why specifically a cow? Again, if you really want to get serious, go to rat's milk. Forget about the cow's milk. If you really want to get serious, and I can tell you that most people aren't serious, because if you're serious, you'll go to the rat's milk. You'll forgo the cow's milk. So
yeah.
most people aren't serious.
Well, now I volunteer at a rehab, and I know that there's been quite a few baby animals that have been given cow's milk and they die. So like they can't drink cow's milk. Okay, just like we can't drink cows. This is a tiny baby, and then people think, well, let me give this baby a different species milk.
Yeah.
No.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's just like I said, if you saw a deer breastfeeding a koala bear, you'd be like, that's pretty crazy. But
Can't
yeah,
do it.
when we do it as humans, oh, it's pretty normal. It's pretty cool. It's normal.
Yeah.
Give your baby breast formula from a cow. But yet the same thing. If for instance, if you take another human being and say the mother can't produce milk, you go to another human being and be like, okay, let's get the milk from that human mother and give it to her baby. People would think that's the craziest thing in the world. Like, how could you give the milk from another lady to my baby, right? Why would you do that? Why would you give another human being milk to my baby? But yet we do it every time when we get the milk from another species, not even a human, another species. So that makes sense to everybody.
Well, if we look in the mirror and we see that we look like a cow and we want to grow to 300 pounds, within I don't know how many months, then sure, drink it. But if I don't think I look like a cow today, and I don't want to grow to 300 pounds personally.
No, you don't look like any of that. You don't look like any other species, right? They're specifically designed. Mother Nature specifically designed each milk to have a specific ratio between macronutrients, between protein, fats, and carbohydrates. Each one of the ratios is different based on the species. So when we as human beings drink other species' milk, that means that we've crossed the line. Nature drew a line in the sand saying, okay, this is how it's supposed to go. We officially crossed over that line.
Well, yeah, and then we take the fat from the milk to make cheese. I mean, that's pure fat. And that, it doesn't even make sense. I mean, they had to say, what are we going to do with this fat? Let's design something, right? Which is totally addictive. That talks about, that goes to the casein in the milk, which is very addictive. I mean, that's to bond the baby cow to the mother, but now it's got us bonded to it. And so, yeah, the
100%.
cheese addiction is real.
Cheese, yeah, cheese is the most one of the most cheese and sugar are the most addictive substances on the planet. Other than like smoking. But yeah, cheese and sugar are extremely toxic to the human body, specifically because of, like I talked about, milk. And then when you turn it into cheese, you just amplify it. You amplify it even more, right?
Well,
The negative.
yeah, you're right. I mean, that's high concentrations of fat and cancer causing agents. I
Oh
mean,
yeah, IGF-1, insulin like growth factor number one. That's what it does. It causes your body to produce more of that hormone, which makes things grow. Not in a good way though. Things like fat cells begin to grow and your cancer cells begin to grow if you got too much of that floating through your system.
and that's why little children are developing so early.
That's why little kids get cancer, is because 6 years old, 5, 6 years old, get cancer is because it starts from the womb, right? The mother's, when they're inside the womb, the mother's giving them hot dogs and hamburgers and no real nutrition. And then when the baby gets out, they may give them their regular breast milk for a while, and then right after that, they'll switch them to cow's milk, right? Switch a little baby to cow's milk, and then next thing you know, 6 years old, it's like, oh, why does this little baby have cancer at 6 years old? Well, if you go back to what the baby's been giving this entire life, that's his expression. That baby chose to express cancer, or that baby chose to express some other disease, right? Simply, it doesn't matter if they're 6 years old. It doesn't matter if they're 6 or 60 or 600 years old. It doesn't matter. The disease, 7 in 10 people die from one of these chronic conditions.
And we're turning on the cell. I mean, we're turning on the genes. I mean, we have the genes, right? And we have a choice with every bite we eat to turn them off or not, or to heal them, right? Let's say we have cancer. Well, we can heal. I mean, stop that progression, on and off with our food choices.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything you eat, everything you drink, and everything in your environment will contribute to a disease. Those three factors: everything you eat, everything you drink, and everything in your environment.
Exactly, you're right. I mean, and when we lose connection of really who we are, and we've lost connection with what is real food. That's
Mm-hmm.
we're eating foods that have zero nutrients. So how will our bodies? I mean, how can we expect our bodies to thrive, and how can we expect them to give us everything and just to function properly? Of course, if we're not giving nutrients to our bodies, they're not going to function properly. They are going to develop diseases.
In my opinion, most of the people, it's about 60% of 60 people are walking around at, most people are walking around at like 55 to 60% of what they actually could feel good. So you put somebody on a new program, or be like, oh man, I feel good now. It's like, no, it's not that you feel good. You feel normal now. That's how you're supposed to feel. You're not supposed to feel like terrible and all that stuff. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think it's so important for us to get the word out as we can, because all these things like arthritis and all these things that, I mean, are caused by inflammation, which is linked to cow's milk. Again, that milk is causing inflammation in our body.
Yeah, milk is causing inflammation. It's causing nutrient deficiencies, like you talked about earlier. Once we get this raw, it's called methylation. Once you get the raw materials, like you can put food into your body, but your body has absolutely no idea what to do with this raw food that you're giving it. Right? It's kind of like whenever you're getting gas, you put gas into your car. Do you know that it wasn't always in this gas form, right? In this refined form, it came out of the ground as crude oil. When it comes out, I worked in oil and gas, so when it comes out of the ground as crude oil, you cannot put crude oil into your car because the car will not recognize it. But so you have to refine it down and turn it into gasoline. And it's the same thing with the human body. When you put raw fuel into your body, food into your body has to do what's called methylation, which basically it takes that raw food, and it methylates it, turns it, and basically methylation is a fancy way of saying it turns it into the usable form. Turns it into the usable form so your body can actually break it down and use these actual raw ingredients to make you. And a lot of the times we have deficiencies, like you talked about. There's, like I said, about 55 to 60% of the people are probably walking around like zombies in the world.
Well,
Right?
they're not getting the nutrients, and so the
They're not
blood
getting
flow
the
to the
nutrients.
brain, they're getting the blocked blood flow to the brain because of the fat and all the stuff in the animal foods. But yeah, that really resonated me when I read in the book about how, like, your body doesn't know what to do with these things that aren't even food, right?
Mm-hmm.
These hyper palatable cupcakes or whatever that are
Yeah.
just layers of fat, sugar, and salt, and you put it in, and your body it's not recognizable as food. So that was
Yeah.
like a big aha moment when I read your book.
Yeah, it can't methylate it. That's the word. Yeah, it can't methylate it into it can't refine it down into a form that's usable. So what does it do in the meantime? It stores it as fat. Fat cells are where the body stores toxins. So when the body stores toxins there, that's where we can start getting all fat and not, big and out of shape. This is because a lot of the times when you see people who are overweight and obese, like I was malnourished. You may not believe it, but like, oh yeah, he's how is he malnourished? Right? He's malnourished because the nutrients aren't getting to his cells. His nutrients aren't getting into their muscles. So therefore, that's why you have excessive amounts of fat, because that's where the toxins are stored. So when we eat diesel fuel products and these products that we don't have any name for, your body has absolutely no idea what to do that. So in the meantime, it will store it. It will store it in your fat cells. And when it stores it in your fat cells, it will say, okay, later on, I know what to do with this. But here's the thing: what we as human beings do. So we eat at breakfast time, we eat a terrible diet. At lunchtime, we eat terrible diet. At dinner time, we eat terrible diet. And it normally takes your body about 6 hours to start to recover from the last meal that you ate, like the bad stuff. But 6 hours later, we're giving it to again, and then again, and then again, and then you just beat your body up until one day it says, okay, I'm tired of fighting. Now I have a disease. I'm tired of getting to the point where don't have the proper nutrients and I can't methylate it, but you keep giving me all of this junk food and I got to store it somewhere. I don't know what to do with it. So in the meantime, I'm going to express a disease. Congratulations.
Well, that
That's how it works.
No, I know your body can't take it. Just never being supplied with nutrients. How could a body be take? I mean, it can't handle it. Just like if you didn't give your car the right gas, if you gave it the tiniest
Diesel
amount.
fuel. You
Yeah,
give it
right.
diesel fuel, it's going to break down.
Yeah, and so yeah, I don't know. It Your body is going to. I mean, and like I said before, it's not gonna be recognizable.
No.
So and what I was going to say was that you talk about not having time to rest. Your body doesn't have time to rest when we're constantly feeding, and I think about that too. I've got to give my body time to rest.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, most of the time we're eating. I talked about this in the book when people are like, "Oh man, I can't lose weight." Oh yeah, well, there's three reasons that people mainly don't lose weight. Number one is they're eating too much of the wrong fuel source, which is diesel fuel. Like I talked about earlier, the standard American diet, 90% of ultra processed foods, and then animal products, right? And then the other 30% is other 10% is fruits and vegetables.
Right. And so the fruits and vegetables, I mean, I know people have said to me, well, I ate a cheeseburger, then I made an orange, and kind of like the orange is going to make up for the cheeseburger.
They can offset each other.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, they're gonna offset each other. No, I mean your body is just looking for nutrients. Your body doesn't care what the nutrients are. It just wants the right nutrients. It wants the right fuel so it can be able to do its methylation process. If you can't do a proper methylation process, then you're just gonna be walking around like a zombie. And like I said, that's why 7 in 10 people die of chronic conditions simply because of nutrient deficiencies. That's how your body expresses itself, through a nutrient deficiency.
Well, that's very interesting because we would, I mean, I haven't heard it put that way, but it makes sense. I mean, it is caused by I mean, not only are you nutrient deficient, you're feeding your body something that's not natural, that your body doesn't know what to do with.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, two big whammies. And so, I mean, how in the world could your body thrive? At some point, it's going to go down. I mean, and we see younger and younger athletes dying of heart attacks and, all these diseases, the obesity in children, diabetes
Yeah.
in little children, and the elevated growth. What am I trying to say? Elevated into puberty.
Yeah. IGF-1 is caused them to produce a growth hormone called insulin-like growth factor number 1. It's
That's
kind of
in
like
the cow's milk.
well, it's in cow's milk. It's not in cow's milk. It makes your body it's in the human body, but it makes your body produce more of the hormone. It's called insulin-like growth factor number 1. Right? It's insulin-like because it can mimic kind of insulin, right? Control your blood sugar a little bit. It can do, but Um, the main thing that it does, it's kind of like an anabolic growth hormone, right? So it makes things grow. So if you want to get really big muscles, yeah, you want a lot of IGF-1 going through your body. But also, what happens with that, you get other things grow as well. Cancer cells start to grow, fat cells start to grow, other things start to grow. Cancer is floating through our body 24/7. Cancer is floating through my body and it's floating through your body as well. But every night, your body will take that and says, okay, get rid of that. Get rid of that little cancer cell growing, right? But if your body can't do that, if your body can't rest and digest and go into maintenance mode, like you were talking about earlier, so this is what I was talking about. People, the reason that people gain weight is because A, they eat too much of the wrong fuel source, which is diesel fuel, and then B, they diesel fuel has no fiber. So these hamburgers and hot dogs and all that stuff that has no fiber. So what does that cause you to do? It causes you to eat more, right? And then you're going to eat at the wrong time. So most of the time, people are eating like 9 and 10 o'clock at night, eating like super huge meals and going to bed super stuffed. That's bad juju. You want to go to bed. You want to do it at least 3 to 4 hours before the bed. Cut off your meals. Cut off your meals at least 3 to 4 hours before bed. You want all your food to be digested before you go to bed. Because if not, then your body is not in actually maintenance mode. It's in fight or flight mode. It's still trying to digest food. Food digestion is one of the most intensive cycles in the body. Like it is the most energy efficient. It takes a lot of energy to digest food. So if your body's healing itself, the second you start eating something, your body stops the healing process to go digest that food. When you're not digesting food, your body's in healing. When you're digesting food, your body's not healing. It's vice versa. So you want to eliminate the digestion 3 to 4 hours before bed. So when you go to bed, your body is in rest mode. It's like it's really resting. It's not digesting food. So you wake up feeling like $1,000,000.
Well, what about how often do you eat?
Oh, I eat. Some it just depends on the day. It depends on what I got going on. Like some days I'll fast in the morning. I don't fast every morning, but some days I'll fast in the morning. Like I'll eat, at dinner time at 7 o'clock at night. And then I may not eat lunch again until 11. I might not eat again until 11 o'clock in the morning. All right. But some days it's different. Some days I'll have like this morning I had my famous oatmeal pancakes I had this morning, or I'll have a juice in the morning, right? Or I'll have a smoothie in the morning, or like I said, sometimes I'll even skip breakfast. It just depends. And then at lunchtime, it's always my Buddha bowls. give me some Buddha bowl, or usually probably something from leftover from the night before. I'll grab, or maybe I'll grab me like a tofu sandwich or something like yesterday I made a tofu sandwich on some nice whole grain bread.
Wait, let's stop there. I mean, when you say tofu, people are like, they're
Yeah.
scared. Like, so, I mean, how do you make tofu taste good?
Tofu is there's different forms of tofu, right? So there's the super soft kind, then there's the medium kind. We're talking about hardness, right? And then there's medium, then there's firm, and then there's extra firm, right? So it depends on what you like. Either you want to stick to the firm and extra firm, right? So now you can marinate. You can marinate it just like you can a steak. You can cook tofu the exact same way that you cook a steak. The only difference is you got to prep it first. But well, you prep meat anyway. You prep steaks and all that stuff. But you cut them into little cubes, marinate them, cut them into little cubes, season them up, throw them in your air fryer. But the key to making tofu is to get some arrowroot starch. Put a little bit of arrowroot on there, and it just makes them super crispy. So you can take it and put it into like a Thai sauce, whatever kind of sauce that you want. Put that over some vegetables. Put that over some rice. Put that over some kale. And you're in there.
All right, good, because that works.
And then my ice cream, I make ice cream. I make vegan ice cream or plant-based ice cream. I use actual bananas. So I have this thing called the Yo Nanas. So if I'm in the mood for some ice cream, I'll take some frozen bananas, I'll freeze some bananas, and I'll put them in my machine, and it makes ice cream. And you would never know.
Do with it?
What's that?
What else? Bananas and what else?
Whatever kind of fruit you want.
Okay.
Whatever kind of fruit. So other kind of frozen fruit. So you can do frozen blueberries, strawberries, blackberries, whatever, pineapples, whatever you like. You just mix it all in together and you eat it just like an ice cream. Now, if I gave that to someone, I guarantee they wouldn't know that it was a banana. They'd say, "This is great ice cream." That's what they'd say.
That's good. I like that. Yeah, and I hope your family's not watching.
Oh yeah, they watch. No, they've had some. They've had some of the ice cream. They love it too.
They love it. They already know. So yeah, they know that. That's good. That's good, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, there are ways to do things. I mean, it's just about learning newness. And who really someone told me today, wow, you don't have a lot to eat. But I do. I have different things to eat now. It's the same old boring, I don't have to eat the same old boring steak or hamburger steak and mashed potatoes or something with all sorts of butter weighed down, and then you go to bed or you feel like you ate a rock.
100%, because your body's digesting that food at bedtime, and you're gonna sleep like not good. You're not gonna sleep well
Right.
if your stomach is stuffed, especially full of diesel fuel, as I call it.
Right. Well, so do you have kids?
No, no kids.
No kids.
I'm too young for kids. 45.
All right. Yeah, you are. I
Too
just want.
young for them.
So, what about nieces and nephews? You have
Yeah, I've
any?
got some nieces and nephews, but I mean, but they're older now. My nieces and nephews are, yeah, they're all pretty much adults now. Yeah, my last nephew, yeah, he's just turned 19. He just graduated last year, so yeah, they're all grown now. So there's no little ones anymore.
What do they think about their uncle?
Oh, they love me. I'm their favorite uncle.
Great.
I'm their favorite uncle. They call me Unc. Their favorite uncle. I call them little homie. Like, what's up, little homie? Like my nieces and nephews. And then they'll fight over each other. Like, no, I'm the little homie. And then they'll be like, no, I'm the little homie. They just fight over
That's
each
funny. No, it's great that you have all these great recipes for them. Whenever they come over or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I love making recipes for people, different recipes, because people will eat and they'll be like, dude, I had no idea it was going to be this good. Like, yeah, it really is. So long as you can change what's at the end of it, doesn't have to be nasty. You can change what's at the end of your fork. Change what's at the end of your fork. You don't have to take medication for the rest of your life. If you simply change what's at the end of your fork, you ain't got to be taking all this medication all day, every day for the rest of your life until you pass away from that same condition.
Right. And you don't have to do everything at once. Just start off slowly introducing this into your diet because like we talked about before, your microbiome isn't going to it's not used to that. So it's
Mhm.
better if you start off slowly, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, there will be disruption, but it's not going to be just this crazy disruption. We want to
Yeah,
just take it slow.
the first month for me was very disruptive. My digestion, when I first went plant based in January of 2021, the first month was very disruptive. Right. So I said disruption always follows intention. So my intention was to get healthy and all that stuff. But yeah, my digestion was out of control for the first month. And then after that, I got it right. It was good because I was eating so much fiber now. I was going from eating no fiber to fiber. And my body was just like, whoa, 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 what's going on here, bro?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard people say, I can't do that. I can't do vegan or I can't do that because it's just not right for my body. But that's the change in your body. It's going
Mhm.
to be natural to have your body change if it's not used to eating that.
It takes your body about 3 to 4 months for all of the cells inside of your digestive system to flip over enough times, to turn over enough times, so you can basically have a brand new gut after about 3 4 months. So it takes time for so people who have IBS, Crohn's, all these different conditions like irritable bowel syndrome and all that stuff. People are like, oh man, I can't eat beans or I can't do this or I can't do that because it gives me bloating. I'm like, yeah, you can. You just got to go through the fire. You're designed to eat this type of stuff. That's the way human beings are designed. You've just been away from it for so long that your gut is now destroyed. So if your gut is destroyed and you try to go back and start eating these foods again, guess what? It's going to tear you up because you're not used to it, especially when you start throwing all the fiber in there. But once you get through it, it's kind of like going through a fire with a sword. You get a sword. The sword has to go through that fire to be forged. It has to go in there and be hot, and it has to get beat up, or like you beat it, bing, bing, inside of the fire. But when it comes out, and they put it in the water, and they shine it up, I mean, it'll cut through anything. And that's the same thing with your gut. Yeah, it's gonna suck in the beginning. And that first month or two, it's gonna if you got IBS and things, it's gonna be not fun. Your body's gonna like be mad at you. But as your gut starts to flip over a couple of times during that process, then it will start to get better. Right? I have a
And have
client
you
now.
worked?
She has IBS. She has IBS, and her IBS is she was going to the bathroom twice a month.
Oh,
Now she's going.
dangerous.
Yeah, now she's going pretty much every day. Sometimes twice a day.
Well, gosh, that gives me hope. I mean, I don't have any problems with that, and but no, it gives me hope to tell other people, right? So yeah, I mean, I feel. I mean, luckily everything works smoothly for me. So, but I eat a lot of fiber. I have a lot of vegetable, a lot. I mean, a lot of fruits all the time, bananas and apples and
Yeah.
all these fruits. So let's see, we have about 5 more minutes, so we want to make sure that we know where to find you. What tell us about what you can give our audience and where to find your book and everything, Kelley.
Onedeterminedvegan.com. If you type in One Determined Vegan on Google, or you go to onedeterminedvegan.com, or if you go to medicinefreemethod.com. If you go to Medicine Free Method, you can get a free copy of the Ultimate Guide for Mastering Wellness. It's just a resource. It's a free resource, kind of like some of the stuff that we talked about here, but I just kind of go more in depth with it. The book, you can get the book anywhere where books are sold. So that's Amazon, that's Goodreads, that's Barnes and Noble, that's pretty much even on Audible. It's on the Audible book. The Audible book is getting ready. I know you heard the Audible book, so that came out, but that's done through AI. But I'm getting ready to come out with a new version at the beginning of next month. I've already recorded it, so we're just editing it right now, and it's in my actual voice. So it's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be quite the experience. So we're taking the one down that we have now, and in about a month, we'll put the actual version up. But I also have a coaching program as well. You can find that on onedeterminedvegan.com. So the coaching program, it's a full-fledged course, 12-week course, where we talk about totally transforming your health, and we're just all about results in there. So it's a community where people who are like-minded people who are struggling with the same conditions that you're probably struggling with, weight, diabetes, heart disease, all this typical stuff, right? We have a group community, and I also have an online course where people can go in and do it self-paced, and then you get me as your coach. So that's kind of how it works. And we're going to talk about transforming your health. So my style is pretty direct, it's pretty straightforward, and we're going to get you the results like that. That's my only goal. That's my only mission, is to get you the results that you're looking for.
Well, that's what's so important, is having someone to hold you accountable, and someone who's been through the fire, right? And who knows what it's like, and can be there to support you and mentor you on. That's powerful.
100%. That's what my program is about. A lot of the times people are like, hey man, can you give me a meal plan? And I'm like, yeah, I'll give you a meal plan, but a meal plan is not life. Like, that's not life at all. You can have a meal plan, but people will usually stick to a meal plan for like a few weeks to a month. And then after that, guess what? And then their life gets in the way, and then they just start eating whatever. Like, oh man, I ran out of time here. Or, oh, I didn't get the prep there. Or I ran out of time and hadn't food, so I just grabbed some fast food real quick. Right? So you have to plan ahead. You have to plan in this lifestyle. If you don't plan ahead, then it's a good chance that you're probably not going to succeed. So you have to plan ahead. That's what a lot of people don't want to do. They don't like planning ahead and getting outside of their comfort zone.
Right. Well, it takes work. I mean, and like you said, when somebody's really ready to change, they will change. And if you're not, there's nothing we can do to
Nothing.
get you there, right? It's
Nothing.
all
Nothing.
on you. Yeah.
Nothing. Yeah, I
Right.
got people now. I mean, I got people like family members who has heart disease. I mean, they give him 6 months to live, and he still won't come see me. He still won't come talk to me. All right, because of his heart disease. Give him 6 months to live, and he still won't. He's still avoiding me because he doesn't want to change, because he's comfortable taking his medication and just eating whatever. But the
Well,
doctors gave him 6 months to live because of his heart, and he still doesn't want to change.
I wish I could say I don't believe it, but I do. I believe it because I see it. I see it everywhere. People don't want to change. I mean, people with horrendous arthritis and all these debilitating things. I mean, terrible arthritis, and just not able to move and things. It's very sad. So,
Oh,
gosh.
yeah.
And so I want to put a JJ she is working, so I think she might be working this afternoon. But yeah, you're going to be on her show too, right?
Oh, which one?
JJ's Vegan Knowledge.
Oh, yeah. I think she sent me a message, but we didn't set anything up though.
Yeah. Well, she's watching, and definitely get on her show. She's got a lot of great energy, just like you do. And you can talk about, she'll tell you her story. So, and
Awesome.
do you have a YouTube or no?
Yeah, it's One Determined Vegan. I just
Oh,
created YouTube, so it's kind of dry right now. It's kind of light, but it will be in the summertime. It'll start to pick up a little. In the fall, it's going to start to pick up. I got some plans for it, but it's One Determined Vegan on YouTube.
right. All right, great. All right. So I want everyone to reach out to Kelley if you're really struggling, or just to say hello, like I did. I mean, he reached out to me, and what a blessing. So we can all learn from each other. I'm never going to forget about the rat protein. I remember even mentioning that to someone like about a couple weeks ago. Rat protein is the best, right?
It's the best. There's no denying it. It's the
Thank
best.
you. I'm going to be suggesting that to everyone that says, how do you get your protein? I'm going to say, oh, well, I got some rat protein that they made from some cells in a lab.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Anyway, well, thanks so much, Kelley. Everyone, thanks for watching. If you're watching the replay, reach out to us and subscribe to both of our channels. All right.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, everybody.